We're going to go ahead and open up the floor for Q&A. Who has the first question? Anybody have a question? Anybody have a question? Okay.
I don't know the verse, but what does the Bible say about astrology?
What does it say about astrology?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great question. What does the Bible say about astrology? Um, let's start at Jeremiah 10.
Yep.
Jeremiah chapter 10. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm just looking up. One second. Like I said, I'm just looking up something. Daniel chapter 10.
Jeremiah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at Daniel on my phone, but Jeremiah 10. Sorry, one more second. Just give me a second. Um, okay, let's read this definition first. This is Wikipedia, so we know what we're dealing with. This is Wikipedia under astrology. You can just read some of that.
Okay. Astrology is a range of divinatory practices recognized as pseudoscientific since the 18th century that claim to discern information about human affairs and terrestrial events by studying the apparent positions of celestial objects. Different cultures have employed forms of astrology since at least the second millennium BCE.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So that first part, that gives us what we need. Astrology is a range of divinatory practices recognized as pseudoscientific since the 18th century that claim to discern information about human affairs, terrestrial events by studying the apparent position of celestial objects. So that's going to be key in answering this question. Hold on one second. We're going to start at Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18. Because, you know, when you're talking about astrology, this is all a package deal, right? Some people try to parse out astrology, but you're talking about, you could say astrology, because people that deal with astrology, like, okay, y'all remember the commercial, the lady back in the day, where she would tell you to call her for your free reading?
Miss Cleo.
Miss Cleo, right? Y'all remember that, right? So that's a good indication, right? Like she using all those things, tarot cards, astrology, you know, all that type of stuff. So it's a package deal. And in reality, basically, you trying to seek out information outside of God, really, is what you're doing, because you're trying to seek it out supernaturally, but outside of God. So when the average person starts talking about, oh, I'm a Pisces, and it means this, it means that, that might be the scaled down version, but it's still associated with that divination. It's still associated with that. Let's go to, what did I say, Deuteronomy 18, right?
Yep.
Start at verse, yeah, you can start at 10 and we'll skip around. 9? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, that's good.
When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations.
Uh-huh.
There shall
So when you come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abomination of those nations. So Israel, God's people, anybody serving God, because this is talking directly to Israel, but in general, it's going to roll over to anybody that's serving God, right? And his admonition for these people is, when you get in the land, don't do like the other people, because remember, Israel's supposed to be the example. Hold your finger here and go to Deuteronomy 4. We're going to come back to Deuteronomy 18. Go to Deuteronomy 4 and start at verse 6. Deuteronomy 4 and verse 6. And when you get there, yeah, 5. Yeah, you can start at 5. Go ahead.
Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it.
Mm-hmm.
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day?
So notice what the Lord is telling us, that is our wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. People are supposed to look at us, and because of the way that we handle ourselves concerning God's laws, statutes, and commandments, that is where our wisdom comes from, right? Because let's just be real. You look at different nations, different people, how they live, their cultures, their customs, and you get a sense of how they operate based on those things. So that's supposed to be our identifier, supposed to be the word of God, not these other ways. So go back to Deuteronomy 18, because he's acknowledging that, you got some other people who have other ways. They don't have the God of Israel, and he's telling us don't do like them in these regards, right? So now go back to 18, where we start at 9, right? Okay. Deuteronomy 18 and 9. Go ahead.
When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations.
So now he's going to tell us what he's considering the abominations of those nations. Go ahead.
There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. So
notice this is a package deal, right? All of this stuff falls under the category of the abominations, right? Making his son or daughter to pass through the fire. These are these customs that originate with devil worship, right? And even now, some of those customs roll over into things we find ourselves being a part of, right? Like some people join the Masons or join fraternities and find them, because I'm here to tell you, every fraternity, if you really research it, they all have a false god that is over them. Yep. I got some family members that denounced their sororities, and they recognized, when we brought this to their attention, they recognized that when they would go to sorority meetings, they would sing songs about the goddess Minerva, for instance, not even really realizing that's what was going on in these sorority meetings. Right? So Satan got something for everybody. But where are they getting those customs that they do? Because we're not going to sit here and act like fraternities don't got customs, right? They got so much so they don't even want to tell you what they doing. They don't even want to let you know, right? And masonry, right? You join they definitely don't want you to know. Right? But so when he say pass through the fire, a lot of these false worship customs have made, that's where all of these other things, where they try to make it palatable to us to continue to keep these things going. But it's a package deal. He said, pass through the fire or use divination. So that's going to be where your astrology is going to fall into play. Because what did it say in the Wikipedia definition? It said it was a, hold on, let me go back to it. Why didn't it just keep that page for me? That would have been great. Here, let's make a new page. Sorry, y'all. I'm moving a little slow today. Or my phone is. Don't you hate when your phone won't turn right so you can do something with? Why you? It just won't? Okay, there we go. I'm fighting with the phone to make it sit up straight. Okay. What was it? Astrology. I want to quote it right. Astrology is a range of divinatory practices, right? Cause what's that root word there? Divine, right? You talking about supernatural. Well, when you're dealing with supernatural, it's only two ways to go. You either dealing with God, which he told us how to deal with him. If you're not dealing with God, I don't care what package it comes in, it's Satan. Period. If you're not dealing with God, there's only one other spirit out here to deal with, and that's Satan and his followers. So when he say, or divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter. So that's going to be another step. That's why I brought up Miss Cleo. Because that's what the psychics, that's what they're dealing with. See, I'm not here. We're not saying you can't go to a psychic and get some information. Matter of fact, because that's what this is all about, right? The astrology, that's to get some information, right? The psychics, that's to get some information. You trying to see the future, trying to get control of what's going on in your life. But you really ain't got no control. God is the one in control. But that's what people like Miss Cleo, it's a story in the Bible with a woman who deals with familiar spirits. That's what they're dealing with. They can give you some information, The Bible lets you know that information they're giving you is coming from devils. That's what they're doing. They are in touch with devils, and the devils are giving them that information, and they're giving that to you. I'm here to tell you that ain't the way you want to do it. That's what an enchanter is, or a witch, or a charmer, right? I remember we had a family, not an internal family, but external family was at our house one time with cousins and all that. And they was like, we want to watch a movie. They wanted to watch this movie called Charmed. Y'all heard of that? Yeah. They wanted to watch that movie. We was like, nope, our kids can't watch that. I said, well, what's wrong with that? I said, well, you seen it. What's the movie about? Oh, it's about, the spirits and this and that. I said, yeah, that's an abomination to the Bible. We took them right here to this verse. It say, or a charmer. We know what that is. Y'all might not know what they trying to do in the movies, but we understand because we read in the Bible. We're not supposed to deal with that. I told my daughter, next time they bring it up, bring them to that verse again. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits. Or a wizard. Right? I'm here to tell you, the entertainment industry is inundated with wizards. People who do all kinds of rituals to try to get gain. And they'll tell you that's what they are. They'll tell you they wizards if you get close to them enough. Or a necromancer. That's going all the way. That's, people dealing with dead bodies, just dead. You just don't want to deal with that. So when we talking about astrology, that's a branch off of all of these things. Right? So now let's keep reading. Keep reading. Go ahead. Verse 12.
For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. For these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee to do so. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I feel like we read it. All right. Now let's go to Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah chapter 10. Jeremiah 10. And verse 1. Jeremiah 10 and verse 1. Okay, go ahead.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman, with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
Okay, so notice what he said. And this is the key here, because we're going to go back to the Wikipedia. We're trying to be specific and exact with what is wrong with astrology, right? So notice he said here, hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them, right? So now let's go to Deuteronomy 4, because what does that mean? Be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them, right? Because we know that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Deuteronomy 4. Oh, we were here before, right? Yeah. Okay. This is where I wanted to keep reading. Deuteronomy 4. Verse 19. Let's cut to the chase. Verse 19. Go ahead.
Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them, and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven.
So look what he said. He doesn't want us to lift up our eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars. And that's literally, when you look at these other major religions, that's basically what's going on. This false Christianity ain't nothing but sun worship. The Islamic religion ain't nothing but moon worship at the end of the day. That's the basis of these religions. And this is what the heathen are doing because they don't got the true and living God. So they see the things that these signs in heaven are doing, which there's nothing wrong with recognizing what they're doing, right? Because a farmer got to recognize that, right? Somebody putting together a calendar got to recognize that. Somebody, trying to figure out what you're going to wear because of the weather, you got to recognize those things. There's nothing wrong with that. But devoid of God, what they being driven to do, they looking at it like that's what's in control. Call it Mother Nature or, this got the power, that got the power. Because they not putting the focus where it belongs, on the one that created these things. Right? So that's what he said in Jeremiah 10, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them, because they are godless, therefore they're not understanding. It's not about what those things are doing, it's about the one that created those things. Right? So he said right here, lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them. So that's going to be key, right? Because, people think when you talk about worshiping a false god, that's like, I'm bowing down, I'm giving honor. Okay, that's one thing. But he said, how do you serve the sun? How do you serve the moon? How do you serve the star? You do whatever customs, right, and rituals and mindset, whatever lifestyle comes that's associated with the service of those false gods. So he's saying don't fall into that, right? So now, let's read some more here. Let's read some more here so we understand what we're talking about when we're talking about astrology. So now, you can start where it says different cultures. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Different cultures have employed forms of astrology since at least the 2nd millennium BCE. These practices have originated in calendrical systems used to predict seasonal shifts and to interpret celestial cycles as signs of divine communications. Most, if not all, cultures have attached importance to what they observed in the sky, and some, such as the Hindus, Chinese, and the Maya, developed elaborate systems for predicting terrestrial events from celestial observations. Western astrology, one of the oldest astrological systems still in use, can trace its roots to 19th to 17th century BCE Mesopotamia, from where it spread to ancient Greece, Rome, the Islamic world, and eventually Central and Western Europe. Contemporary Western astrology is often associated with systems of horoscopes that purport to explain aspects of a person's personality and predict significant events in their lives based on the positions of celestial objects.
Okay, so that's really what you're asking about, right? Because again, it talked about being able to see the signs in heaven and kind of tell what's going to go on seasonally. And then it started talking about Western astrology, which is really more about looking up into the heavens, and based on what's going on there, you can tell how a person's going to act and start to predict things that's going to happen in their life, so forth and so on. And that's more so what we're addressing. That's more so what we're trying to address, right? So now let's go to. Hold on, let me read this again. Contemporary Western astrology is often associated with a system of horoscopes that purport to explain aspects of a person's personality and predict significant events in their lives based on position of celestial objects. The majority of professional astrologers rely on such systems. Yeah, you probably should read the rest of that. Yeah, just go ahead and keep reading.
Throughout most of its history, astrology was considered a scholarly tradition and was common in academic circles, often in close relation with astronomy, alchemy, meteorology, and medicine. It was present in political circles and is mentioned in various works of literature, from Dante, Alighieri, and Geoffrey Chaucer to William Shakespeare, Lope de Vega, Calderon de la Barca. During the Enlightenment, however, astrology lost its status as an area of legitimate scholarly pursuit. Following the end of the 19th century and the wide-scale adoption of the scientific method, researchers have successfully challenged astrology on both theoretical and experimental grounds, and have shown it to have no scientific validity or explanatory power. Astrology thus lost its academic and theoretical standing in the Western world, and common belief in it largely declined until a continuing resurgence starting in the 1960s. In India, belief in astrology is long-standing, widespread, and continuing.
Okay. Okay, that's good. So again, I want to make sure that I understand what we're even asking about and what's considered astrology, as opposed to just making, making broad claims. So now let's go to, hold on one second. Let's go to, where was I trying to go? Daniel. I'm sorry, I'm looking at. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find scriptures while I'm telling y'all to go to scriptures. Hold on a second. Daniel chapter 5. Daniel chapter 1. Let me start there. Daniel 1 in verse Yeah, 18. Daniel 1 and 18. Huh? No, okay. I was Matthew 16 is what I really want. I found it. So I was going to go to Daniel to just have y'all read that while I was trying to find this other thing. Matthew 16. Let's go there. Because look at this. We saw where it said that astrology. Anyway, let's read this. Because again, I'm trying to make sure we understand what we're talking about when we talk about astrology. Where it talked about horoscopes and people using that to try to figure out what's going to happen in their life, horoscopes, tarot cards, all that stuff. That's what we're talking about. This is something you should not be a part of, right? And as you can see, like, because it's all in a godless frame, that's how all of it's going to be dealt with. Like even when people deal with the moon cycle, because you got to deal with the moon cycle to deal with the calendars, right? You got to deal with the. Matter of fact, let's go to. Hold your finger here. We're gonna go to Matthew. Go to Genesis. Genesis. This is really okay, man. This is what I want here. Genesis 1 and verse 14. That's what I want. 13. 14. Genesis 1 and 14. Okay, go ahead.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so.
Okay, so what is he telling you here? The same lights he told you not to look up and be dismayed because the heathen are dismayed at them, right? The same lights that he told you don't look up and worship them, right? He's telling you here, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So you're using them properly when you look at those things to tell what's going on with the seasons or to tell, about the calendar, stuff like that. You're using those things properly in that regard. Right? That's why I wanted to read what astrology is. Because now go and read the second part. Read that right there.
Okay.
This is back at Wikipedia. Go ahead.
Throughout most of its history, astrology was considered a scholarly tradition and was common in academic circles, often in close relation with astronomy, alchemy, meteorology, and medicine.
Okay, so that's what. See, I'm familiar with meteorology, right? That's what weathermen call themselves. I'm familiar with astronomy, right? That's scientific study of the stars. I would say alchemy is questionable, but you understand what I'm saying? We know that you got to look at the sky to kind of see what's going on with the seasons, with the weather, stuff like that. We know that, right? In the book even telling you that's what those things are for. Now go to Matthew 16. Go to Matthew 16 and start at verse 1. So, and I don't know if I'm correctly classifying, I'm not aware if I'm correctly classifying astrology with what I'm talking about, with terms of like looking at the sky, seeing what the seasons are, looking at the sky, dealing with the calendar. I know astronomy and meteorology, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not a scholar on what exactly astrology is. I know when we talk about astrology, we're talking about the horoscopes and all of that type of stuff, right? So just to cover it all, if you're talking about dealing with the sky to discern what's going on with the seasons and the time zones and all of that, that's not an issue. Whether or not that's astrology, it is what it is. But Matthew 16:1, go ahead.
The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, When it is evening, ye say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times?
Okay, that's good. So that's just showing. We saw in Genesis, hey, you got to. That's what the lights are for, right? To discern the sign of the times. Like, oh, we know it's about to be winter. We know it's about to be summer. We know it's about to be this. We know it's about to be that, right? So there's no issue with that. The issue is you looking up there. You got cards on the table. You trying to figure out your life and how somebody is, if they're a good mate. You trying to make all these types of decisions based on the host of heaven, which comes from a whole divination system. This is a major problem, right? And that's what we read in those other verses. So now let's go to and we can end it with this. Sorry. Go to Ezekiel 21. We're going to see somebody using all kinds of means like that to try to Ezekiel 21. Uh, 18. Ezekiel 21:18. Go ahead.
The word of the Lord came unto me again, saying, Also, thou son of man, appoint thee 2 ways, that the sword of the king of Babylon may come. Both twain shall come forth out of one land, and choose thou a place, choose it at the head of the way to the city. Appoint a way, that the sword may come to Rabbath of the Ammonites, and to Judah in Jerusalem the defenced. For the king of Babylon stood at the parting of the way, at the head of the 2 ways, to use divination. He made his arrows bright. He consulted with images. He looked in the liver.
So look at what he's doing, right? This king of Babylon. He's using all these means to try to get an advantage. He's using divination. That would be like astrology, right? Or tarot cards, or talking to somebody that's got a familiar spirit, like a psychic or something like that. He made his arrows bright. He consulted with the images. This is false, praying to false gods, right? He looked in the liver. You ever seen these people do witches, witchcraft? They do witchcraft. They do all kinds of stuff with animals. You know, they take animal parts and stuff. That's what he's talking about. He's doing here. See, that's what I'm saying. It's a package deal. You're just doing whatever you can to try to get an advantage. You're trying to do it divinely. You don't care where it comes from, though. And I'm here to tell you, all of that's going to be an evil spirit that you're dealing with. That's ultimately where that's coming from. Any information like that, because I'm not here to tell you. I'm here to tell you, you could get some information like that. You absolutely can get some. Matter of fact, if we'll finish reading this, then we'll go read a story where somebody got some information just like that. But it's from an evil spirit. You don't want to get it like that. Because all the evil spirit is going to tell you is something to get you dead. That's ultimately what it's going to be. Right? So he's doing all these different customs to try to do this. Verse 22, go ahead.
At his right hand was the divination for Jerusalem, to appoint captains to open the mouth in the slaughter, to lift up the voice with shouting, to appoint battering rams against the gates, to cast a mount, and to build a fort.
So at his right hand was the divination for Jerusalem, to appoint captains, to open the mouth, to slaughter, to lift up the voice with shouting, to appoint battering rams. So he trying to figure out how to get an advantage at this war, right? Verse 23, go ahead.
And it shall be unto them as a false divination in their sight, to them that have sworn oaths. But he will call to remembrance the iniquity, that they may be taken.
So it shall be unto them as a false divination in their sight. Let's go to, is it Samuel? 1 Samuel 28, and this will be it. Yeah. 1 Samuel 28. And again, so we're gonna see somebody that goes to a psychic, who psychics implore these methods, astrology and tarot cards and all these types of things. They got TV show people on TV shows like a Oprah Winfrey set with a whole studio audience. Got people in there using these means, giving people information. These people don't know they inundated with evil spirits. That's where the information is coming from. 1 Samuel 28. 28 and 6. Go ahead.
And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servants said unto him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor.
Okay, so what does it mean, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit? That's talking about she is in communication with evil spirits, with devils, right? Skip down to verse 9 and go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Read verse 8. Read verse 3. Go ahead.
And Saul disguised himself, and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. She is talking. He's asking her to bring back the dead. That's what he's asking her to do, right? Which again, that's what a lot of these people do when they deal with these people. They want to go talk to somebody that passed, that died. Verse 9. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die? And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself.
So he think he talking to Samuel. Samuel's dead. He thinks he's talking to Samuel. So let's see what happens, right? Because again, that's a normal scenario in this scenario where people go to witches or psychics trying to get information, right? Keep going.
And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up?
So he talking. That's what people say, right? They say they done talk to their dead grandmother. They did. Well, that's what's going on here. Saul thinks, that's the operative word. He thinks he's talking to Samuel, right? Samuel's dead. He's not talking to Samuel, though he is talking to somebody, though. Read that verse again.
14.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself.
Mm-hmm.
And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And the Lord hath done to him as he spake by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David, because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executest his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines.
So what information did he end up getting? That he's going to die. He said, you're going to die tomorrow, right? So now, skip back to 1 Samuel 16, and let's see what was with Saul all along to ultimately where he would go and even make a decision like this to go consult with this lady. 1 Samuel 16 and verse 14. We'll cut to the chase. 1 Samuel 16 and 14.
But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him.
Okay, so the Spirit of the Lord left Saul, and the Lord put an evil spirit. See, people don't even know the Lord will do that. This say, an evil spirit from the Lord. So you want to play with God. He's not the one to play with. See, when God put an evil spirit on you, where do you go to appeal that? Where do you go to appeal that? So now he got this evil spirit on him, which led him to go to make this decision to go deal with. He got an evil spirit on him, seeking a woman that got evil spirits on her, trying to get some information. This is not a party you want to go to. So God said, all of this is an abomination. And hey, the Bible is showing us that all you're dealing with is evil spirits anyway. So hopefully that answered your question. You don't want to deal with any of these things that the Lord is calling an abomination. And the issue is, the Lord is the type, as you see here, that he say, look, if you keep wanting to do that, that's really what you want, he'll give you over to it, as he did here with Saul. So hopefully that answers that question. Any questions or comments? Any more questions or comments on that?
It answered my question.
Okay. Let's read that. Isaiah 9. Okay. Yeah, this is a good one. Isaiah 8:19. Go ahead.
And when they shall say unto you, Seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead?
So that's the key. That's the key. People want to counsel people to seek after them that have familiar spirits, that would be a psychic, or unto wizards that peep and that mutter. They got all these methods and ways that they do things. But here's the key. He says, should not a people seek unto their God? Right? You got time to seek after something. Seek after the Lord. You got time to go try to inquire of some information. Inquire of the Lord. That's the point. The Lord say, hey, you want to go inquire over there and ignore me? I'm going to give you over to that. So, yeah, this is a great verse because this shows what we should be doing. We need to be seeking God. Who got time to be dealing with astrology and studying this, studying that, going to deal with some psychics and all that when you got the Word of God? Daniel 2, yeah. Daniel 2 and what? Yeah. This is yeah. Daniel 2 and 27. Okay, when you get there, go ahead.
Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream, the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these.
So, hey, the Lord gave Nebuchadnezzar the dream. The whole point was Daniel was going to interpret that dream. So no matter what these other guys were going to do, they did not have the information. Right? God is the one that reveals the secrets. Right? And he revealed it to Nebuchadnezzar through Daniel, and Daniel gave the glory to God. Right? So the Lord is watching. And in general, like I said, you know, we need a real live use case. What is somebody using astrology for? That's really the conversation. Like, what is it that you're trying to do? That intention that you have is going to be your underlying problem because you're trying to use other means outside of God. Right? You need some guidance. Seek God. Pray to God. Get to know the Lord. You need some strength, some wisdom. Hey, we saw, he said, this is your wisdom in the sight of the nations. He said, use this. This, you know, you can't go around God. So, great precepts, brother. Any other questions? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is, we just did a lesson on Jesus being God, and you said there are only two gods. You said there's God the Father and God the Son, but the Bible also speaks of another God, saying there's a God of the world. So shouldn't there be three gods?
Okay, that's a great question. That's a great question. So number one, there's only one God. That God is, so for instance, go back to Genesis. Genesis 1 and 26. Genesis 1 and 26. When you get there, go ahead.
And God said, Let us make man in our image.
Okay, so now, when it talks about man here, is that talking about one man that's going to be made in God's image? There's multiple men in that, right? Okay, so we see that man is a uniplural word, much like God. That's why we read the Hebrew Elohim, how God is a uniplural word. It's one family with more than one member. Man is a uniplural word, one family with more than one member. So there's only one God, meaning that Godhead is the only God that exists, right? Because again, when you look at existence in and of itself, in the spiritual realm, you only have God, which right now you got two members in that Godhead, and there's only one God family, period. Then you have angels. There is nothing else. No ghouls, no goblins, no puffs of smoke, no no indifferent spirits that haven't made a decision if they're going to go with the evil one or the good one. None of that other stuff. There's literally nothing else. No aliens. You know what I'm saying? It's God and the angels in the spirit realm, period. In the flesh realm, there is man and beast, period. Right? Man, uniplural. So you know that, right? So there's only one man. There's no other. And people have tried to, act like I said, when you look at just the way that people think about things, they can imagine all kinds of different species, all kinds of different iterations of flesh, iterations of spirit beings, but there is no other. So when it comes to God, there's only one God, right? And that Godhead or that God family comprises currently of the Father and Jesus. When God is done with what he's doing, there will be many members to that family. And that is what life is all about. That's what we're auditioning for, to be a part of that family. That's what this whole thing is about. Matter of fact, let's go to Revelation 21. Revelation 21, yeah. Let's look at that. Revelation 21 and verse 6. 21 and 6. When you get there, go ahead.
And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely.
Okay, so now understand what he said here. He said, I will give to him that is athirst. Whoever wants it, I will give to him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. You can get as much as you want, right? Then he's going to clear. It's going to be real clear in verse 7. Read verse 7.
He that overcometh shall inherit all things.
Okay, so you're talking about, God is talking about giving you all things. What are you missing here? What would anyone lack if they inherit? We know what an inheritance is, right? That's what your father gives to you. If you inherit all things from God, what are you lacking? Right? You're talking about all power, all knowledge, all understanding, all ability, he said he's going to give all things. Matter of fact, hold your finger here. Go to Matthew 28. Let's see what Jesus said when he was resurrected. Matthew 28 and 18. And we're going to get to the questions online right after this. Matthew 28. Matthew 28 and verse 18. 28 and 18. Okay, when you get there, go ahead.
And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth.
So notice what Jesus said when he was resurrected. He said he got all power now. Right? He wasn't saying that when he was a flesh and blood man. He was praying that he would get that glory back.